Now you know how to elaborate effective feedback. Let's sum it up with the 10 do's and don'ts of feedback. These are common mistakes that teachers make when giving feedback and how to overcome them. Are you ready? Let's go. First, when a student is trying to figure out something on their own, do not interrupt them. Instead, give them some space to try it out themselves. You should be clear from the start about what you want your students to achieve, know, and do. When you give feedback, do not focus on the student themselves as the person. Instead, focus your feedback on what the student knew, what the student did, or what the student achieved. Also, do not ever compare students to their peers. When you assess, you should compare what they did to the standards set by the assessment criteria. When you're giving feedback for learning, do not limit it to grades or generic comments such as good, great, or average. If you want your students to learn from your feedback, change the way you give this feedback to suit the needs of every student. Next, when you give feedback, do not overwhelm students with too much feedback at once. Instead, focus on a few things. Try to choose the most important ones. Prioritize. When you give feedback, do not just tell them what they did wrong. Instead, let them know how they did, both good and bad things, and give them some suggestions to improve. In addition, do not give feedback without allowing students to clarify. Students must be able to create meaning from that feedback, so they need to understand it. Therefore, create spaces to discuss feedback with your students. Also, do not give feedback only after formal assessments, when the task is already finished or the exam is already done. Instead, give feedback throughout the process, when students still have time to make use of it to improve. As you know, when students receive feedback, they have to deal with a lot of emotions. Do not discount these reactions as their problem. Instead, give them the support they need to handle these emotions. And last but not least, do not tell certain students that you have lower standards for them. Their self-image will be extremely damaged if they know that you have lower expectations for them. Instead, let all students know that you believe they can all do better.
Created using Powtoon.